Hello and welcome to the CircuitPython Weekly for April 1st, 2019. I'm Scott and I'm sponsored by Adafruit to work on CircuitPython full-time. Uh, CircuitPython is the easiest way to program microcontrollers. It is the great Python language on embedded microcontroller computers, they're very small, very inexpensive computers. We've got a great turnout at our meeting today. This is where we get a chance to talk about everything we're doing with CircuitPython, whether it's making new projects or changing something in the core code. That is what we're doing. This meeting is at Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Most of us are based in the U.S., so if we have U.S. holidays, we tend to bump it to the next Tuesday. You can join it. Everybody is welcome. You can join at our Discord, adafru.it/discord. That will get you in there. We are there all week on text, and then we're in the voice channel where we have the meeting on Mondays. So everybody is welcome to do that. The meeting is done in 5 parts. We have community news, which Phil will say shortly. We do State of CircuitPython, which is a statistics view of the health of the project. We follow that up with hug reports and status updates. Those are both run as round robin. So I will start and then we'll go through people in the voice channel in order of your Discord name, but starting with the host. So I will start that. Hug reports is a chance for you to say thank you to folks for the work that they've been doing. That has been awesome. And then status updates is a bit about what you've been working on the past week or so. And then the opposite. So what you plan on doing in the next week. And then lastly, we have a section called In the Weeds. But before I do that, I remembered for those round robins, hug reports, and status updates, as Carter and T. Grover have said, either let us know you're lurking and we'll just skip right over you. Or if you're text only, basically you don't have a mic or don't want to speak, but you do have an update, you just type it in and I'll read it off. I'll be your voice. That could be either in the notes or in the text channel. The text channel is being recorded as well as the audio, so be aware of that. In the Weeds at the very end is a discussion, kind of freeform discussion section. So if you have topics for that, drop them in the notes doc, which Summersoft was nice enough to link to again, or type them in the text chat. And we'll snag those for the discussion section in the Weeds at the end. Like I alluded to, we take notes and we post this publicly afterwards on the Adafruit YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Adafruit. And finally, we also post a link to it in the Python for Microcontrollers newsletter that Adafruit runs. It is done in the open, so if you have news that's Python or microcontroller Python and microcontroller related, let us know and put that in the newsletter as well. So you can sign up for the newsletter at adafruitdaily.com. Check the Python for microcontrollers box. Whew. And with that, I'll take a time code and hand it over to Phil for community news.
Hello, everybody. First up, welcome Maker Melissa and Sedacious, who's doing more and more stuff with us here at Adafruit. So in the chat and wherever else, welcome aboard. You'll see their fingerprints on all sorts of good stuff here at Adafruit and across many products, many efforts, including CircuitPython. This Wednesday, if you're not doing anything, or if you are, or if you're part of the chat, we'll see you there Wednesday at noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Come to the Hack Chat. It is a Hack Chat all about Python and microcontrollers. Many of the people who work on CircuitPython will be there. Dan, Kenny, Scott, more, myself, others will be there. There is a poster that Alex from Hackaday made. There's also a PyPortal project we made that's a countdown. So you can have fun with things on the Internet of Things topic, and you can make it in Python, and it can be stuff that even shows what's coming up on the chat. Next up, I put this in community news because it was kind of a late breaking story that happened last night, breaking news. So CircuitPython is on calculators. We had posted about that before in the past, the TI-83, and this is in France, where the national the programming language in France is Python, and the calculators also have Python. And we didn't know about this. They just, and which is great about open source. They use the 3.0 version of CircuitPython. It's on calculators, and now people are figuring out how to get regular old CircuitPython boards running the variant that TI made. So there's firmware builds, and there's other things. If you're international, you'd probably be able to get one of these calculators and pick up one of them. There's a TI module that's basically just like a trinket, but now people are getting those things to run. And you can also look at some of the instructions and more. I posted it up on the Adafruit blog. You just have to like do some hacking and change VID PID or just get one of the firmware things. So that's a fun thing from the TI Planet community. The Mu Alpha came out, and they have a really good Gitter, which is kind of like a chat system for GitHub stuff. Go over there, check it out if you haven't already. If you have any issues or things, because it's an alpha, they added a lot of things. Now's a good time to let them know. And also, if it's just working out, maybe let them know too. Nicholas is doing a lot of good work on that, so it's always good for folks to hear that. And then last up, circuitpython.org/downloads looking good. Thanks to Dan Scott Somersoft for reviewing the PRs that I put in. We're almost done. There's boards that we don't have images for that we'll figure out if we're going to display them or not, if they're real boards or coming soon boards. And then there's text for all of them possible in that could go in right now. And then there's one last thing that's a feature that we just have to be careful how many things we add, because there is a limit, because we don't want to have a million features on each board. So we have to figure out the things that make the most sense. Right now for PyPortal, which I think is kind of a very feature-rich board, we have Wi-Fi, light sensor, temperature sensor, and there's a pull request from TG Techie for battery charging, which I think is a good one for other boards. But I think the core team will probably take a look at what we get for these features, because it shows up as little tags, and that's how you sort by stuff. So you can put it in the chat later or put it in the notes. But it'd be nice to get like a core set of what features make the board searchable. I don't think we need to put like SAMD or some of the processor stuff, or maybe, but I think some of it'll just be trial and error to figure out like what are people looking for and what type of things we want to add. So I always say try to pick the most complicated one that has the most stuff, and then the other ones will kind of we'll pick and choose from that. So that's community news for this week.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Phil. I appreciate all your work.
Yay.
This website's looking really good because of you, so thank you for that.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing. For everyone who works, who does anything with CircuitPython, it is so fun and easy to go to /downloads and get a build that you need.
It's so much better.
So it's just like self-serving. It's like, this is great. Like, just like looking at the pretty pictures, I'm like, we take nice photos.
Yeah.
So it's a mirror of all the great work we're doing together. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I did notice because Radomir added the Polish translation for beta 6, we were over 500 build artifacts, so the website came just in the nick of time.
Yeah, this is why it's really difficult for anyone who does microcontrollers or anything with computers anymore, for every single different build and version. And I think we took a look around and we saw a lot of challenges, because I think this is something that people can't do really well, and is, typical Adafruit fashion. I think we did a really good job. So hug reports for all for this resource.
Totally.
Okay.
Thanks, Phil.
Bye-bye.
I just realized my webcam light is on, and I'm not sure why. I'm hoping my audio sources are correct. But all right, let's keep going. State of CircuitPython. This is a chance for us to take a statistics view of the health of the project. We do this every week, and so we can go back and look at notes. We do this in 3 parts: an overall part, core part, and a library part. So I will start with the overall part. Overall, in the last week, as of the AdaBot run last night, we had 20 pull requests merged from 11 different authors, which used to be amazing and is now kind of the norm, which is excellent. It's good to expect more authors. So in the long term, we're growing, which is great. Some new folks in there: JPCore, Yayato 2788, and Mike Renfro are all new names, so thank you to those folks. We had 5 reviewers, and again, that's awesome. I always say reviewing is the easiest way to get into it. Testing somebody else's code that they've proposed is a great way to get started and get your feet wet. So I recommend that. And then issues wise, we had 19 closed issues by 7 people, 12 open by 11. So we're net down, which is great. So things are looking really good. If I had to summarize overall where we're at, we're very close to release candidate. Probably in the next week, maybe maybe a little longer if something comes up. But we did beta 6 on Friday, and that fixed a number of bugs that people were having. We have some kind of phantom issues, or not phantom issues, but hard to reproduce issues with file systems. But we'll see. I think we're close. So that's really exciting, and I think we're kind of targeting PyCon at the start of May as our kind of like want to make sure the website and the 4.0 stable release is all kind of put together at that point. So that should be really cool. Core wise, we had 10 pull requests merged from 6 different authors and 2 reviewers, Dan and myself. So thank you to all those authors and reviewers. Full details in the notes. We had 7 open pull requests as of last night, and they're listed in the notes as well. We had 9 closed issues by 4 people and 4 open by 4 people, so we're net down, which is awesome, for a total of 155 open issues. We have 6 active milestones. The one that I'm paying attention to most is the 4.0 Bluetooth one, which had 6 open issues, and we also had 3 issues that are not assigned to a milestone as well. So that's where we are in terms of keeping track of everything that's coming in. Downloads wise, we had 3.1.2 and beta 6. You want to see a breakdown by board, check the notes. We've had just over 10,000 total downloads on 3.1.2. It's been our stable release, which gets more downloads, and it's been out for a while, so that's no surprise. And then we've had 399 downloads on beta 6, which is actually quite impressive given that it just came out on Friday. And it looks like actually that 291 of those are PyPortal. So lots of people played with their PyPortal over the weekend and updated the software, and hopefully they had a great experience. Language-wise, all of the 3.1.2s are English, and then 388 out of the 399 were English as well on beta 6. So English is still by far our most popular language. And with that, we'll kick it over to Kattni for a library update.
Thanks, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that the 3.1.2 downloads top 10,000. I don't think we've ever done that before.
It's true. I don't think we've ever had 10,000 of a single version. That's awesome.
So, interesting note. So let's talk about the libraries. This week we had 10 pull requests merged by 6 authors with 4 reviewers. 2 of the people on the author list, Jay Paycor and Mike Renfro, both new people. It's fantastic. Thank you so much for your contributions. We have 25 open pull requests, which is fantastic. This is definitely continuing to increase along with all of the new contributors and all of the people who have been contributing all along and are now working hard on contributing to the libraries. It's been really fantastic to watch, and we really appreciate everything that everyone's been doing. We had 10 closed issues by 6 people and 8 open by 7 people, so we are also net down, leaving us with 96 open issues. The rest of the notes about libraries are issues that are problems with the repos themselves, or some of them are good first issues in the sense that we need to rename examples, for example. And so it's something that if you're interested in contributing or getting started and you're not sure where to start, the libraries are a fantastic opportunity to do that. We have a library tracking issue on the CircuitPython GitHub repo. However, there's been an issue with updating it, which is to say it won't update. So I've been in contact with GitHub about it, and they're looking into it. So we'll see how that goes. And if that doesn't work, we will come up with another option. that's easier to update. So for now, that particular issue has not been updated since 2 weeks ago. So it's definitely not a good it's not the greatest place to find issues. However, it does have a list of issues that are probably still open, and if you click on it and it's been taken care of, find another one. So it's not up to date, but it definitely has a lot of opportunities for contribution. And that is the libraries.
Awesome. Thank you, Katney. And that is it for the state of CircuitPython and its libraries. We're going to go on to Hug Reports, which Hug Reports is a chance for us to all say thank you to other folks for the work that they've been doing. If you do it every week, that's typically for things in the last week. But if you're like me, for example, I was out last week, so I have Hug Reports that span the last 2 weeks. So let's get started. And before we get started, let me just remind you, if you're text only, please let us know. Or if you're lurking, meaning you don't want us to call on you, let us know as well, and we'll skip over you. That's not a problem. And with that, I will start, and then Brent will circle back and go to Brent after me. So also, if you're not able to make the meeting at all, you can always put your notes in the doc that gets sent out early, and we'll read them off even if you don't make it. So just an FYI. Okay, so my Hug Reports this week are, there's a lot. First and foremost, shout out to Damien and the whole MicroPython crew for the release of the PyBoard D series. They look really cool, and I think are all sold out, so congrats to them on making something that everybody wants. Thanks to Dan Attack for all of the bug hunting, in particular on USB. We've gotten a lot more reliable in the last few weeks thanks to you guys, so thank you for that. Shout out to Jerry and Melissa for joining the community moderators. It just kind of we separately decided to add those two folks, so thank you for helping our Discord stay friendly. Really appreciate that. And shout out to Jerry as well for meeting up with me when he's visiting Seattle, so it was great to sync up in person. Thank you to NoopCat, Suze Hinton from Microsoft, for helping me with some Azure pipeline stuff last week on Friday. That was really helpful to chat it out. Thanks to PT, Phil Tyrone of Adafruit for all of the help adding content to CircuitPython.org. It's looking really good, and we're well on our way to having everything kind of set up the way we want it for PyCon when we're pointing people to it. Related to CircuitPython.org, shout out to Justin and Tyler of Adafruit as well for continued improvement of the site, including showing newly added boards even before release. The U-chip dip module thing didn't show up because we hadn't released a version of it yet, and so it's nice that once we merge a pull request to the website, the board will go up pretty quickly, like within the next few minutes, so that's really cool. Thanks to Katney for running last week's meeting when I was gone. It's super easy and super handy for me to just re-listen to the previous week's meeting and just get ramped right back up, so thank you for that. And lastly, this one's from the previous week since I was gone, but thanks to Carter for jumping into the Display.io stuff for a guide with me and really talking it over. Got some feedback on the API, in particular, Font.io is a thing now with glyph and built-in font. So that's thanks to Carter's feedback on that. So that's it for me. Let's go to Brent.
Hello. Hug report to Katney for assistance with PyPy deploying and bundling, and also PyCon prep. Welcome, Maker, Melissa, and Statius to Adafruit. Looking forward to seeing you guys at PyCon as well. And to PT for CircuitPython.org work. It gets better and better, and I used it this morning, and it's a great resource.
Awesome. Thanks, Brent. And Carter is lurking, but I will read off a Hug report from Carter that says, hugs to Dan H for forum help. And then we'll go to C. Grover, who says, a group hug to the team and the community today for inspiration and collaboration. Thanks, C. Grover. And Charles.
I'd like to give a hug report for. I don't know exactly who did the Midi library, but boy, has it been helpful. Thank you very much. And a group hug to everybody else who works on this project. It's incredible.
Yeah. I think the Midi library was started by Lady Ada, but Kevin Walters, KJW, who's in the chat, has really made it really impressive as well. So thanks to those folks. Okay, let's go to Dan. Dan is next.
Hi. I want to say thanks to Scott for fixing a really critical bug that seemed to have a lot of ramifications. It had to do with HID, but it was smashing memory and made our betas a lot more stable. Thanks to TAC, who's working in the background. You don't see so much on some USB issues, especially things that happen when you disconnect USB, and how we can make sure that we notice that.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks, as usual, to Jerry, and also a new person, Always Linux 2, for testing some of the latest fixes in a concentrated way to make sure that they're working right. Thanks to Maker Melissa, who also was doing some of that testing and fixed a lot of other problems in various different display libraries and produced new display libraries. Thanks to Deshipu for doing a translation, the Polish translation, in like a week, which is quite amazing, and also cleaning up some error messages in the process, and which saves flash space. And finally, thanks to Katney, who's doing all kinds of work in the background for preparing for PyCon. There was the soldering party we already know about, demo software that's going to go on the Circuit Playground Expresses, and there's all kinds of logistics stuff that we have to worry about, interfacing with the PyCon staff and other people as well. So that's great. Thank you.
Thanks,
Okay.
Dan. All right, Deshipu.
Okay, thank you to Maker Melissa for the ST7789 display and help with getting it to work, helping me to get it to work. I didn't in the end, but help was very appreciated. And sorry.
Is that it?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry. Help to Lady Ada for doing a complete rewrite of the paper, the ink drivers.
Mm-hmm.
They look much better now.
Awesome. All right. Thanks to Shipu. I totally know that moment where you get like a notification and you're talking and it distracts you. It happens to me all the time, as you probably know. Okay, let's go to Drew. If Drew's around.
Yes, I am.
Yay.
It's my first time doing it from the, so hopefully you can hear me. Yeah, so hug to Stefan Kruger, who goes by S-Lite, for doing a pull request to add support to Blinka for the Pocket Beagle. Nice. And also to Gustavo Ranga, who goes by Hulko, raised an issue in Blinka for the BeagleBone built-in LEDs. And that had been broken. I was able to fix that, so thanks to him as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Drew. Okay, we'll go. Oh. Was that it?
Yeah, sorry, that's it.
Okay, no problem. All right, let's go to Jerry.
Yeah, well, thanks to you, Scott, for making the trek up to Kirkland to meet with me last week. It was a lot of fun to get together, and especially for introducing me to Value Village. I needed some quick cables later on the day, and was able to go back there and get just what I needed.
Perfect. Yeah, Value Village is my guilty pleasure. I'm planning on running up there later. Okay. Thanks, Jerry. Katney.
Hi. All right. So I have a giant hug and congratulations to Maker Melissa for joining Adafruit. She's been doing all kinds of amazing work, and I'm really glad to see her as part of our team now. And another giant hug and congratulations to Sedacious for joining Adafruit, who's also been doing amazing work and is now part of the team. Hug report to Jerry, Maker, Melissa, and Sedacious for joining community moderators. To Dan and Scott for all the bug squashing in 4.0. To Maker Melissa for all the continued work in so many places. To Roy and Dan for helping me understand an issue with functions in Python. I had weird code that wouldn't work in a function, and both of them put a lot of effort into explaining to me why, and that was super helpful. And then to Melissa, Scott, and Dan for testing the PyCon demo code for me. It does different things based on the board ID, and so the more people that were testing it, the better, to make sure that that particular portion of it was actually functioning. So that was super helpful. And that's what I have. Thank you to all of you.
Awesome. Thank you, Katney. And thanks for taking notes, too.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Maker Melissa.
Hi. Okay. First of all, a huge hug to Lady Ada and PT for welcoming me to the Adafruit team. Katney for all your encouragement and help with everything. To you, Scott, for encouraging me to make my CircuitPython code, the actual core code, a little cleaner and simpler. To Drew for taking over the Pocket Beagle testing. To Dan for finding and fixing the memory bugs. To Jerry and Sedacious for joining the community moderators, and also to Sedacious for joining the Adafruit team. And a group hug to everyone for being so welcoming.
Awesome. Thank you, Maker Melissa. All right, Mike.
Hey, everybody. Just a quick shout out to all the great people who've been working on their PyPortal projects. All the Ada boxes went out, and I've seen some really great projects using PyPortal, and just keep it up, because I think there's a lot of potential in that product that you can't really find anywhere else as far as kind of plug code and go.
Nice. Yeah, the projects have been really cool. I'm excited to get caught up on email and stuff. Thank you for reblogging everything, Mike.
No problem.
All right. Noe.
Hi, folks.
Hello.
A group hug to everybody.
Yay, group hug. All right, SDW.
Just group hug for everyone in the CircuitPython community and the SIGROC community.
Nice. I need to sit down and try SIGROC at some point. I would love to put my time into that. All right, Sedacious.
Let's see, what do I have? I got a hug for Katney for helping me out with writing up my first product guide. Another one for the CP or CircuitPython team for helping me figure out scheduling for PyCon over the weekend. And then also just generally to Adafruit, Lamore, Phil, everybody in the community for making an awesome community and a super great place to work.
Yay.
That's it.
Welcome. All right, and last but never least, Summersoft. Says, do you have Mike today? I assume not. Nope. Okay. Summersoft says a hug to Maker, Melissa, Jerry, Ann, and Sedacious for joining the moderator group, and a group hug to everybody else. And with that is hug reports. Thank you, everybody. Let's go on to status updates. Status updates is it's again a round robin, so rules apply. Let us know if you're looking or text only, or if you're gone, you can let us know and we'll read stuff off for you. This is a chance for you to just say what you've been working on in the last week or so and what you plan on working on this week, and I will start. After I take a time code. I fixed a hid bug, as Dan alluded to, that was causing CircuitPython to crash. It actually was like closed a number of issues because the issues were like, oh, it doesn't work on this kind of computer or whatever, and it was specifically related to hid gamepad, so like that's why not everybody saw it immediately. So I fixed that, and all those issues got closed, which was cool. And yes, as Maker Melissa says, it was hidden. Um, I finished the release of Beta 6 after Dan did most of the hard work on it. And I wrote a script to format the BB code and HTML announcements based on the release Markdown. One thing I'd love to do is actually make the Markdown pulled from the GitHub page, which I think would be cool, but it doesn't do that yet. It could pull the tag as well. That would make it a little bit easier. I spent Thursday trying to convert over to Azure Pipelines from Travis because Travis was having issues. It looks promising. There's a link in the notes to the test build. You can do 10 jobs in parallel rather than 5, so that can speed up the build a bit, which is cool. That was last week, and then the previous week I moved glyph and built-in font into Font.io for clarity. I fixed setting the RGB brightness so that it's immediate. You could do it from code.py, but it wouldn't take effect until code.py was done when we set it to a different color. And that 2 weeks ago, I also fixed the CDC out bug, which is actually into CircuitPython buffer. What it would do is if you generated too much serial traffic into CircuitPython from your computer, you would overwrite, and then your data would not be true or be corrupted. So I fixed that. That was a CDC thing, and thanks for TAC for doing the merge on that. This week, bug hunting file system issues, really just trying to break beta 6 and close out the remaining 5 or 6 or 7 issues that we have. And then we'll do release candidate. So that should be soon, maybe by the end of the week or early next week. Today's catching up on email and stuff. And then Wednesday is pretty busy. We have Hack Chat on Wednesday, noon my time. So I'll be there. And then after that, I'm actually going to have lunch with Greg from Lattice, which is the FPGA folks. So that should be cool too. And then on the Game Boy side and the gaming side, I assembled V5. I did some MIDI testing. Shout out to Kevin Walters for the awesome MIDI improvements. I got a real MIDI keyboard, so I'm playing around getting that working with the Game Boy. And you should see some stuff from my evenings come this week on that as well. So that is my update, and let's go to Brent.
Hello.
Hello.
Last week I did a new project. It'll be on Learn later this week. It's a PyPortal Smart Scale, and we hacked apart a Dymo scale and we internetified it. And what does that mean? We added a new CircuitPython library called Adafruit CircuitPython Dymo Scale, and you can interface with an off-the-shelf postage scale. It's really good for if you want to get started learning how to hack consumer hardware or do some hardware hacking with CircuitPython and you're not sure how to control something off the shelf. Often off the shelf stuff is really good, but it's useful, like a multimeter, for example, and if you want to add logging to it, it would be useful to connect it to a PyPortal. So hopefully this will spawn all types of projects. I'm also doing ongoing work on the Adafruit.io documentation for the new API. It's almost finished. I like how CPython's logger module has a cookbook, and I'm going to add a cookbook page into it for recipes with Adafruit.io, because I know a lot of people do a lot of different things, like sending image data, and then just topics like how do I send the float, what's the precision. So if you have any suggestions for or any recipes that you use with Adafruit.io, let me know.
Nice.
And then this week I'm doing a PyPortal smart lighting controller, finishing that guide up. I'm writing a really lightweight library for interacting with the ESP32 SPI library. And then I'm going to do some further work on that and probably another project later in the week.
Awesome. Thanks, Brent. And thanks for taking the lead on the I.O. stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, Carter is lurking, so we'll go to C. Grover, who's text only. C. Grover says, to date, took a break from CircuitPython to work on a couple of Eurorack module kits. Was nice to focus on therapeutic through-hole soldering again. Walked through some fun PyPortal projects too. Returned to CircuitPython this weekend to finish a collection of fundamental Midi note utilities. The helpers translate a note description string like C#5 to a note value 0 to 127, note values to a descriptor string, and a single helper that combines the two translators to permit free-form entry of either input form, note to name, name to note. I also threw in 2 more helpers for note to frequency and frequency to note calculations, which are available in github.com/cedargrovestudios/MIDI util. I have a feeling I'm going to use that pretty soon to do my Game Boy note stuff. I want to do pitch bend, which I think would be really cool. Anyway, C. Grover continues, says, to do. Next on the list is to complete one more rack module kit, mostly SMT soldering. Fun, but not as therapeutic as through-hole, and to do some CircuitPython coding. Expect to wrap up a MIDI message decoder library using the full memory-hungry standard protocol stack and an optional lower-calorie version for essential messages. The decoder will include filters and triggers so that only certain messages or sequences are decoded as an option to the default mode of processing all messages. Would be handy to be able to isolate or ignore a system-exclusive message block, for example. The decoder is the essential algorithm for analyzing received messages and will first be used in a second-generation portable MIDI signal sniffer. With some tweaking, the decoder will also form the foundation of a general-purpose message builder for transmitting MIDI message sequences. Big thanks to the authors of Data Structures and Algorithms in Python for helping me achieve an enlightened approach to transforming the MIDI protocol into a Python digestible structure, with the Amazon link to that book. And I would also say, C. Grover, you should take a look at Kevin's MIDI library if you haven't as well. He's done a lot of interesting things there. But it's not bad to have two. Have two approaches to it. Okay. And with that, let's go to Charles.
Well, it looks like there's going to be a lot of help for what I'm doing. I've got a mouthpiece that I built originally for my ocarina, and I want to separate it from the ocarina so I can use with the library, so I could use it for basically CC continuous controllers in general. So let's see what happens. But I think some of what I'm seeing here might actually help.
Awesome. I thought that would be a good segue.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Charles. All right, Dan.
Okay. So as Scott noted earlier in the status, we've had a lot of PRs. I've been reviewing a lot of PRs. And last week, sort of the other big bug before Beta 6 was I fixed a bug in TileGrid, which was had to do with data type checking, and that caused random crashes. I think it definitely caused some the background to disappear in some demo programs. There's been a lot of churn in the build recently. We're running out of space in various places, so we're adjusting things, and also people are asking for various features to be included, which is not necessarily causing space to run out, but so there's a lot of like trying to get the release into good shape. So that's continuing, and that will continue. I have some more ideas or some more suggestions that have come in on that. As Scott mentioned, we did Beta 6 on Friday, and now I think we have a pretty stable release, which still could use a little more looking at, but for the PyPortal people. That's great. Over the weekend, I did a lot of setting up some demos to run on PyPortal and ran them overnight to see if they would crash. They didn't really. It's not really clear. There's some cases where J-links seem to give random breakpoints. I don't know what's going on, but the program doesn't actually seem to crash. And finally, someone pointed out that the BLE UART server code doesn't do very good buffering on writes, so I'll be trying to fix that up. It's probably just library code. It probably does not need a change in CircuitPython, I hope. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan.
All right.
All right, Deshipu.
Okay, so I didn't really finish anything this week. I started a lot of things, but somehow they didn't work as I expected. But the next thing I'm planning to work on is to get Display.io working on the micro game consoles on this my thing for games, and perhaps to make it not clash with the stage library so that you can use both at the same time, so that you can get error messages where your program crashes, for instance. We will see how well that goes.
Let me know. I'm curious. All right. Drew.
Yeah, so I was been testing out the Pocket Beagle support that was added to Blinka tested out GPIO, still need to test out I2C and SPI. So I'll hook up some of the sensors that I did for when I was testing the BeagleBone Black. Also, there was an issue that was raised in the Adafruit platform detect, where right now you have to be root on the BeagleBone or the Pocket Beagle. So I was looking at alternatives to be able to do that without having to be root. So Stefan Kruger was the person who opened up that issue, so look into that as well.
Great. That's always good, not having to be a root. All right, thanks, Drew. Let's go to Jerry.
Yeah, didn't get much done last week because I was traveling all week, but except for meeting with you, which was really fun.
Yep.
And this week, I'm just trying to remember what it was I was doing last week and get back to doing it.
Awesome. Well, welcome back, Jerry, and it was great to see you. All right, Kattni.
Thanks. So last week, the first board that I designed went into the Adafruit store. I nearly completed the guide for it, the VEML 7700. The only thing left is to add Arduino docs, and it's just a matter of getting them generated properly. I updated the UF2 on the CPX Cricket guide to a new build so that it has all the latest stuff and is working better. Updated or added API keys to Travis for a number of libraries and did some various other library work. And I wrote up the PyCon Circuit Playground Express demo code. So this week, finalized 2 guides that are mostly done but just need some final touches. Finalize the CPX demo code so I can get that to Lemoore in the next couple days. And then a series of product guides, and eventually I have another breakout to complete. However, it is lower priority as we are trying to get all the things that are currently in the fire finished up before moving on to another board. And I think that's it. I will be helping some people out with some of the stuff that they're doing as well this week. So I definitely have a pretty full week. And Wednesday, we're doing the hack chat, like you said. So Wednesday will definitely be jam-packed with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And that is what I have.
You keep busy. That's for sure. Thanks, Kattni. All right, let's go to Maker Melissa.
Okay, last week I fixed a couple PRs that made it into the CircuitPython Core Beta 6.
Yay!
Yeah. I got the SSD 1351 driver working, and I refactored the ST7735 driver and the examples to make them simpler, so they're not using any bytecode for the parameters. I wrote the HX8357 driver for the 3.5-inch TFT Featherwing. I worked on the SSD 1331 driver, but I think I might have been having some issues with my display, so I just got another one I'm going to try it on.
Okay.
I set up Blinka on the Raspberry Pi 3 for testing. I added some keyword arguments to the ILI 93 display library so that we could pass stuff like rotation to it now. I started working on my PyPortal calculator guide, and I started working on the Ada logger. This week I will finish the SSD 1331 driver, and I'll look at the ST7789 as it failed the test that Deshipu was just doing a little bit ago. I'm going to start working on the mono display IO displays, and I'm going to try and finish the Ada logger Featherwing. I'll put together the pieces for the TFT plus joystick Featherwing after the ST77 gets merged in, and I'm gonna try and finish the PyPortal calculator and finish writing about it.
Nice. What do you mean by mono display IO displays?
I mean the ones that aren't color.
Okay. Yeah, we should chat about
I couldn't think of a good name for them otherwise.
Yeah, we should figure out how to do that. I wasn't planning on doing it in 4.0 though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just figuring out like what color space you're going to and from, and it's a good like 4.1 we could do.
We have there are some nice OLED, some nice 16 shades of gray OLEDs out there.
Yeah. I think if we, I think Melissa doing the single color and the 16 or the 4-bit color would be really cool. I think it's basically the same task, right? Like,
yeah,
it's just doing like tracking
I
what
have
color
to kind
space
of
you're going
figure
to.
out what is involved in that and stuff, so that's kind of part of starting on them.
Okay, yeah, let's tentatively think of that as like 4.1.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Thank you for taking the lead on all the display stuff. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mike.
Okay. I've been really busy with many things. The main thing that I'll be doing today, which you might want to pick up because it'll be happening tomorrow, is the CircuitPython newsletter, or the Python on Microcontrollers newsletter. We publish that once a week on Tuesday mornings, so I'm busy doing it Monday afternoons. It has all kinds of material from the team, Phil, and we publish it as email, and then oftentimes we link to it afterwards. But the best way to get it is to subscribe to the newsletter via email, and you can do that. It's a separate website from Adafruit site. It's called adafruitdaily.com.
Mm-hmm.
And you can sign up for the CircuitPython newsletter and other newsletters Adafruit does. The mailing list for those are not mixed in with the Adafruit customer mailing list, so there's like no spamming or anything. You can come and leave and anything as you want, and your email address will never be used for anything else. Adafruit's very spam conscious, let's say. So if you want to get this week's newsletter, please go over to adafruitdaily.com and sign up, and we'd like to have you. It's like our fastest growing newsletter. It's up to over 5,200 subscribers, I believe, which for a kind of specialized newsletter is pretty darn good. But we want folks who are in the Python, MicroPython, CircuitPython communities to have all the latest and greatest info, and one of the best ways is to aggregate that and put it out in a newsletter. So, and if you know of people that are interested, steer them that way too.
Sweet. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
All right, Noe.
Hello. So for this week, playing with the the e-paper display library for CircuitPython, and I'm playing with the Featherwing version of that. I'm putting together a little demo for it, some graphics. And for next week, I am working on a learn guide for a prop maker based project that also uses CircuitPython to help code. So that will be next week's project. It's a nice 3D printed prop thing.
Cool.
And that's what I have so far.
Thanks. All right.
Cool.
Let's go to STW.
Okay, so I did some various research, reading up on SIGROC project and various documentation, and I went looking for where, because there's support for my multimeter in libsigroc. I went looking for that, and it uses a chip by Chinese company Fortune Semiconductor. It's the FS9922-DMM3, and so the code for that was under that, and then I decided to look again for the datasheet, because the SIGROC website has a broken link to that, and I found the datasheet. I thought I had found it for the first time, but realized when I went to bookmark it was already bookmarked. So I must have seen it and not had time to read it or something. So I was able to look at that, and it has there's like 4 pages of the RS-232 transmission specification. So now I can start figuring out how to decode stuff. It's kind of weird how it does it, though. It's like it's not so much sending the data, it's kind of like it's sending the state of the LCD. So like there are bytes where the bits represent which segments of the 7-segment digit display are turned on or off. And so I think what I'm going to do is get some captures with my logic analyzer and like manually go through and just to try to understand how it works.
Right.
Just use brain power and decode it, and then I will start working on trying to write some Python code to do that. And I'll have to learn about PySerial, and I also want to try and understand, like my multimeter has 2 cables. One is a RS-232, which I started working with because I knew how to do that. But there's also a USB cable, which is a serial HID thing, which I have to try and do some research to understand how to read from that, because I'd like to be able to use either cable.
Right.
But then I'll start writing my own like protocol decoder, and then maybe I can also try porting that to CircuitPython, and maybe try writing a protocol decoder for PulseView for libsigroc. That
cool.
Yeah, so a few ideas there.
Yeah, awesome. I really like the idea of using CircuitPython to interface with development tools. So
yeah,
curious to see how that goes. And SIGROC, I need to play around with, because I'd love to use an open source decoder.
Yeah, it'll work with your Salier.
I don't think the new ones. I think it's like some versions of the Salier, but I could give it a try. I just got the fancy 16-pin Pro Salier, so
yeah.
If I could get one that did USB also like that, I'd love to use the same thing for USB that I use for other stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Scott. All right.
Welcome.
Let's go to Sedacious.
Okie dokie. So first off, this was actually last week, right? Last week is a thing. Last week I was super busy leaving my previous employer and blah 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 blah. And what else did I do? I sent off a board for the ST LPS 35HW, which is a waterproof or water-resistant MEMS sensor. Got that back on Saturday because Poshpark is super awesome. So this week I'm going to be working on the INA 260 product guide and finishing up anything going on with that, and then moving on to drivers for the LPS 35HW, and then probably I'll have enough time to start working on a board for the Roam. What is this thing called? It's the BD 3491FS which is a sound processor with built-in surround sound function. It's basically a mixer chip as far as I can tell. It could also do like EQ and a couple of other things. It's pretty interesting. So yeah, that's what's on my plate.
That sounds really interesting. All right, let's go to Summersoft, who I believe is text only today. Summersoft says, last week, NRF PDM in changed buffer management to use a static double buffer in PDM in.c for 2 reasons. First, to test if my previous buffer management using the objects buffer was the reason for unusable output. And 2, to enable more inline manipulation for things like 8-bit samples. NRF peripheral is 16-bit only. The buffer switch caused no change for number 1, so I took a break to complete some edX coursework on C pointers. I wanted to make sure my shaky understanding wasn't the cause. And also, Adabot's updated libraries list is started formulating a plan for this. This week, we'll start to implement the sync filter for PDMN to see if it fixes the output data. And that's Summersoft. We also had Lady Ada duck in and give a hug reports, I believe. Lady Ada said, sure, hug report to Maker Melissa and Sedacious, who are working on more stuff with us. It is exciting. And with that, do we have any in the weeds? Drew, I won't look at your DM until after the meeting. So,
I did have one thing I didn't ever mention. I haven't mentioned this in a while, but for the CircuitPython org, I guess it would be the download page. I think I'd open the PR to I forget where I put it, but basically having something where you could tell the features for a board, which I think ended up being what ended up with the stuff on the Pi portal, and I think there was an example image with something having a Bluetooth icon.
Right.
That's all very useful, but actually what I had in mind is I think somewhere in the read the docs there was a matrix of which boards supported which built-in libraries.
Right.
And that's the kind of more what I was thinking about. I don't know where that would be useful to have, but for me, maybe an advanced search or something that you could filter on that or something like that. So yeah, that's it. I don't know that we.
Yeah, I mean that's a good idea to get out there. Is like I agree that should be somewhere useful. I wonder if it's worth if we could generate it into the read the docs where like we have individual like technical documentation per board. Where and then from the downloads board page we just link into the technical reference.
Yeah, that's an option.
Because it would make sense that it would go in with the API docs.
The other thing I was thinking of is kind of related was using maybe something in the board definitions to generate some of the feature stuff. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
How would you keep that up to date automatically, though?
That's why I was suggesting using the board references.
Well, yeah,
okay.
I think like Dan did some really awesome work to restructure how we enable and disable modules, and we could probably just do it based on those defines somehow.
But yeah, we can continue this discussion with PR.
Yeah, it's just a good thing to get in our brains so that we can think about it. All right, any other in the weeds, or should we wrap up? And Sedacious, you're still unmuted. All right, that's it. I'm gonna call it. Thank you everybody for making this meeting. We had a great turnout. This meeting is open to everybody, so if you're listening to this after the fact, you're always welcome to come hang out with us. It is Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. We usually do it then. If we do switch it up, we'll post a message in the in the CircuitPython channel on the Adafruit Discord, which you can join with the URL adafru.it/discord. That'll drop you in. You can ask us things there as well. If you want to get notified about updates, we can add you to the CircuitPythonistas group. And so if you're not on there but would like to be, let us know. Sometimes we're bad about adding people. So that's that. This meeting was recorded, so beware that it has been recorded. It'll go up on Diode Zone and YouTube today. Subscribe to the Python for Microcontrollers newsletter at adafruitdaily.com to get a link in your inbox to all sorts of Python goodness, including the recording of this meeting every week. We are available on various podcast services, so if you want to subscribe to us, check that out as well. And I think that's it. If you are using an older version of CircuitPython but want to help out and be a little brave, please try Beta 6, 4.0 Beta 6. It's pretty good, I think. And so we'd love to find those last few bugs that we need to do before we call it stable and get 10,000 downloads on it. So I think that's it. Thank you again to everybody for making it, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.